Washington, August 27, 2025. The marble steps of the United States State Department set the stage for yet another symbolic exchange in a long and complex alliance. On this day, America's top diplomat, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, welcomed Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon to Washington. The images were simple: a handshake, a walk inside, a series of photographs for the press. Yet behind these brief gestures lies a far more complicated story, one of enduring partnership, mounting regional crises, and the challenge of diplomacy in a volatile Middle East. As Rubio and Saar entered the State Department, the cameras recorded the formalities. A handshake, captured in silence, signified continuity. To the casual observer, such moments might appear ceremonial, but in Washington's careful choreography of foreign policy, every movement is meant to convey reassurance. The United States remains Israel's most important ally, and Israel, often under scrutiny from global institutions, relies heavily on the political, military, and diplomatic cover provided by its partner in Washington. This meeting comes at a decisive moment for both men. Marco Rubio, a former senator with a reputation for hawkish foreign policy, has now assumed the weight of America's top diplomatic post. His words carry the authority of the US government, and his presence at this meeting sends a clear message that the alliance with Israel is not only enduring, but actively reaffirmed. For Gideon Saar, one of Israel's senior statesmen, the visit to Washington is an act of necessity. Israel faces both international criticism and regional uncertainty, and each encounter with an American official is a chance to underscore Israel's case to the world. But beyond the optics of smiles and cameras lies the reality of today's pressing concerns. Israel's ongoing military operations in Gaza continue to draw condemnation from abroad. Supporters argue that Israel is acting in self-defense, while critics warn of mounting humanitarian consequences and regional destabilization. The United States, as Israel's closest ally, walks a difficult line, offering security guarantees and steadfast backing, while also attempting to prevent escalation that could drag the entire region into further chaos. Diplomacy in this context is about more than today's headlines. The talks between Rubio and Saar almost certainly extend into broader, longer-term challenges. Chief among them, Iran's nuclear ambitions, the durability of normalization agreements with Arab neighbors, and the question of whether the United States still retains the credibility to act as the ultimate guarantor of Middle Eastern stability. In recent years, American administrations have oscillated between aggressive involvement and cautious restraint in the region. Rubio inherits this dual legacy. On one hand, Washington is expected to stand firmly with Israel, ensuring its security through military aid and diplomatic support. On the other, the US faces the expectation, both internationally and domestically, to temper Israeli actions, to push for negotiations, and to prevent a spiral of violence that could engulf Lebanon, Syria, or even beyond. For Marco Rubio, today's meeting also offers an early test of his diplomatic approach as Secretary of State. Known for his firm positions as a senator, he must now translate that rhetoric into policy. Diplomacy requires not only strength, but subtlety, balancing unwavering support with the ability to mediate. Rubio's handshake with Saar may have lasted seconds, but it represents decades of American commitment to Israel's security. For Gideon Saar, the visit is equally important. Israel has faced growing protests, diplomatic challenges, and a need to reaffirm its alliances. Standing alongside the American Secretary of State, Saar projects confidence that Israel is not isolated, that it continues to enjoy the backing of its strongest partner. Yet the world beyond Washington sees this relationship with mixed eyes. To some, it is a beacon of democratic solidarity. To others, it is an example of Washington's inability to act as a neutral mediator in the Middle East. This dual perception underscores the complexity Rubio and Saar must navigate to stand firm in alliance, while leaving space for dialogue and perhaps compromise. As the press event concluded, the two leaders disappeared into the corridors of the State Department. Away from cameras, the real diplomacy began. The images will circulate, the handshake, the smiles, the flags standing side by side. But history will not judge the meeting by the photographs. It will judge it by the outcomes, by whether today's reassurances translate into tomorrow's stability. For Washington and Jerusalem, the road ahead is as uncertain as it is familiar. The alliance has weathered wars, protests, and shifting global dynamics. Each meeting, such as this one, reinforces the structure of that partnership. Yet, like any alliance, it must be continually renewed through dialogue, trust, and shared purpose. This was not just another handshake in Washington. It was a reminder of how alliances endure, how diplomacy persists, and how the relationship between the United States and Israel remains one of the most consequential in global affairs. From the halls of the State Department, this was a moment of diplomacy in motion, a handshake that speaks volumes, even as the most important conversations continue behind closed doors.
Mr. Secretary, will you raise the killing of journalists and civilians in Gaza?
Senator,
Are the killings deliberate? There's certainly evidence that that
Senator, the deadline when the
Can you
war.
ask about Mohammed Ibrahim?